All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle one of South Africa's most controversial and, let's be honest, most fascinating terms, the Stellenbosch Mafia. We'll be using Pieter Toit's excellent book as our guide to unpack this story of a tiny town with a mind-boggling concentration of wealth and power.
And boom, that one sentence from politician Julius Malema just lit a fire under a huge national debate. It's an incredible accusation, right? The idea that a small, exclusive club of white businessmen, all hanging out in this one town, basically holds the keys to South Africa's entire economy.
You hear the word mafia, and you immediately think of, Godfather-style secret deals, shadowy figures, maybe some organized crime? But what's the truth here? Is this powerful network really operating like a criminal syndicate? Okay, let's really dive into this.
Okay, so first things first, what does this term actually mean? And how in the world did it become such a loaded phrase in modern South Africa?
What's really interesting is how the meaning of this term has completely flipped. Years ago, in business circles, it was almost a compliment, a sign of grudging respect for how powerful and effective this network was. But now it's basically a political insult. It suggests there's this grand conspiracy to control the country for their own gain. So to really get what this is all about, you have to go right to the source, the town of Stellenbosch itself. It's this unique bubble of wealth that feels like it's a world away from the rest of the country. So picture this, a town that looks like it's straight out of a postcard. Beautiful oak-lined streets, historic buildings, but it's also ground zero for some of the biggest corporate titans in the country. The book paints it as a place where it's not just what you know that counts, but who you know. The network is everything. So how does this network actually get built? Well, the book calls it a feeder system. It's like a pipeline, really. It kicks off in these elite high schools, gets solidified at Stellenbosch University, and those same bonds, those same friendships carry right on over into the business world. We're talking about relationships that go from the classroom straight to the boardroom. And this is where it gets wild. Just look at the sheer scale of the money we're talking about here. It's staggering. These aren't just big companies. They represent a massive, massive slice of the entire Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Media, tech, banking, retail, you name it, their influence is there. But here's the twist. This group, this so-called mafia, it wasn't one big happy family. Not at all. In fact, inside this billionaires bubble, a huge clash of cultures was brewing, a real showdown between the old guard and the flashy new guys on the block. And you can see it perfectly in these two figures. In one corner, you've got Johan Rupert. He's the definition of old money, inheriting the super conservative, super detailed Remgro empire. And in the other corner, Marcus Jooste, the total opposite. He was the outsider, the incalmer, who built his company Steinhoff with aggressive, risky deals. His style was flashy, it was all about ego. It was the Marcus Jooste show. And you can literally feel the tension in this quote from Remgro's CEO. The arrival of Steinhoff was a shock to the system for the town's old elite. It was like, who are these guys and what are they doing in our town? They were really suspicious of this loud, flashy style that was so different from their own quiet way of doing business. And nothing captures this clash better than this absolutely legendary trip to the 2015 Rugby World Cup. The book details how Steinhoff flew about 100 people, many who didn't even work for the company, first class to London for 3 weeks. We're talking helicopters, 5-star hotels, the whole 9 yards, all on the company credit card. Just pure over-the-top excess. And all this tension, this old money versus new money drama, it was all building up to something. And that something turned out to be the biggest corporate scandal in South Africa's history. An event that would not only destroy fortunes, but would put the whole idea of a unified Stellenbosch Mafia to the ultimate test. Look at how fast this all went down. It was absolutely breathtaking. It starts with some rumblings in Germany, but then it all just explodes over a chaotic 48-hour period. And the ending? It's not some formal press conference in a boardroom. Nope, it's a text message, a cryptic goodbye and sorry text message from the CEO right before he just vanishes. And the fallout from this was just catastrophic. We're talking over 200 billion rand in shareholder money, just gone. Poof, vanished into thin air. Think about that for a second. People's life savings, their pensions, just completely wiped out. The shockwaves were felt across the entire economy. And get this,
Even the guys at the very top, the big players like billionaire Krista Weezy, who was the chairman and lost a personal fortune, he said it was a bolt out of the blue. He had no idea. He had traded his life's work for Steinhoff shares that were now worthless. It just goes to show how masterfully hidden the fraud really was.
Okay, so after all that chaos, we have to come back to our big question. What does this spectacular, disastrous collapse of Steinhoff tell us about the Stellenbosch Mafia? Is it real, or is it just a myth?
Well, it's not a simple yes or no. On the one hand, yeah, there is absolutely a super powerful, very well-connected network of businessmen in that town. You just can't argue with that. But on the other hand, a mafia, a single unified criminal group all working together, the Steinhoff's disaster proves that just wasn't the case. These guys were practically at war with each other. So, the book's final take is this. The Mafia label, it's a great headline, it's great for politics, but it's not really accurate in a criminal sense. There's no single boss, no Don calling all the shots. But, and this is a huge but, what does exist is an incredibly powerful, insulated network that simply because of its sheer wealth has an unbelievable amount of influence. And that really leaves us with one final question to chew on. Maybe we're so busy arguing about the word mafia that we're missing the bigger picture. When any small, interconnected group holds that much economic power, does the label we give them even matter? Or is the concentration of power itself the real story?